Hi, today I'm going to go over landmarks in your Southwest region packet. Okay, so again, you're going to need your social studies packet that says Southwest. And before we begin reading this section, landmarks, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And then we are going to preview the questions, okay? All right. So just to remind you, so I'm under the landmark section. We start with the before and after. So I'm going to read the questions. You're going to choose T or F. Is the statement true or false before you even read the passage? Number 1, United States astronauts train at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. Do you think that's true or false? Just put a T or an F. Okay, number 2, the Colorado Plateau is the most famous landmark in the Southwest region. True or false? Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead to number 1, right beneath there. These are your short answers. How did Carlsbad Caverns get discovered? Okay, so I'm looking for a short answer there. Number 2, what is the petrified forest? Number 3, how was the Grand Canyon formed? Okay, so those are the questions that we're going to be looking for. Don't forget that when I'm reading, we will stop and you will need your highlighter. Okay, you can use any color that you can see. We're going to highlight the information that's going to help us answer these questions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, go to my packet, page 5, where it says landmarks. Okay. All right, first paragraph. The Grand Canyon is the most famous landmark in the Southwest. Okay, that right there, if you were called, will answer one of our questions. So let's get that highlighted. That very first sentence, the Grand Canyon is the most famous landmark in the Southwest. Now let me remind you, this is a recording, so you can stop to pause or rewind me at any time. The Grand Canyon is 217 miles long. Parts of the canyon are a mile deep and 18 miles wide. It is so deep that the top and the bottom have different weather. At the bottom of the canyon is the Colorado River. This river has been flowing through the Grand Canyon for millions of years. The force of the water has caused the walls of the canyon to erode or wear away over time. Okay, that is pretty important. So it's kind of explaining how the dam has formed. So starting with the end of the very third sentence, I'm going to highlight, this. River has been flowing through the Grand Canyon for millions of years. The force of the water has caused the walls of the canyon to erode or wear away over time. Okay, so you're going to highlight those two sentences, starting from this all the way to time. Okay. Many people today visit Grand Canyon National Park. The tourists enjoy hiking, riding mules on trails, rafting on the Colorado River, or simply looking at the beautiful landforms. Okay. Moving on to the second paragraph. Petrified forest. When you go into the petrified forest, it's not like walking into a normal forest. It is more like walking into the desert. Petrified wood is the fossilized remains of prehistoric trees. Millions of years ago, the trees died and were covered with mud and volcanic ash. Minerals in the mud replaced the tree's living matter and eventually hardened into stone. Most of the petrified forest is still buried under the sand and only some small parts have been revealed to the surface by erosion. Petrified wood found in the region is made up of almost solid quartz. Each brightly colored piece is like a giant crystal, sparkling in the sunlight as it's covered by glitter, as if it's covered by glitter. Okay, so with our highlighter, we are going to go into the third sentence, but it's the second line, starting with petrified wood is the fossilized remains of prehistoric trees. So go ahead and highlight that. Petrified wood is the fossilized remains of prehistoric trees. Okay. I'm going to move on to the third paragraph, starting with Johnson Space Center. Johnson Space Center is in charge of NASA's human spaceflight program. All of NASA's astronauts live and train at JSC. JSC also trains foreign astronauts bound for the International Space Station. The Space Vehicle Mock-up Facility allows astronauts to practice operating the 430-ton space station with a full-scale models. Astronauts practice spacewalks at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, an enormous pool that holds 6.2 million gallons of water. JSC's Mission Control Center plans, supports, and operates every NASA human spaceflight mission. Teams of engineers at Mission Control are on duty around the clock every day, keeping watch over the astronauts on the space station. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing just here for a second. Okay, so there's one, let me share my screen with you again. There's one thing I think we should highlight here, and that would be the very first line. Here we go. Johnson Space Center is in charge of NASA's human spaceflight program. All of NASA's astronauts live and train at JSC. I think it's important to have that highlighted. Go ahead and highlight that. Okay, and I'm going to read our last paragraph. Carlsbad Caverns National Park is another popular tourist destination. According to a legend, a cowboy named Jim White saw what looked like a plume of smoke rising into the sky. That smoke was actually a cloud of bats flying out of the cave entrance. Hundreds of thousands of bats sleep in the caverns during the day. At night, they leave in a giant whirring cloud to hunt for food. Huge rock formations called stalagmites and stalactites decorate the rooms of the more than 80 caves in the park. The Hall of Giants is as big as 14 football fields. The Green Lake Room has a very deep green pool in one corner. The King's Palace has a large formation that looks like a castle in the center. Okay, so with your highlighter, let's go ahead and highlight in the second sentence, Jim White saw what looked like a plume of smoke rising into the sky, but actually it was a cloud of bats. Okay, so go ahead and highlight in the starting in the second line, Jim White, all the way to the end of the third sentence, cave entrance. Okay, once you've done that, we are going to go ahead and go back to the questions. Okay, I'll read through those again. Okay, so now that we've read the passage, now you are going to answer true or false. You can always go back. Number 1, United States astronauts train at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. True or false? Number 2, the Colorado Plateau is the most famous landmark in the Southwest region. True or false? Okay, number 1 short answer. How did Carlsbad Caverns get discovered? Remember to write complete sentences, capitalization, punctuation. Spelling, you should be able to refer back to the article. Number 2, what is the petrified forest? The petrified forest is. And number 3, how was the Grand Canyon formed? Okay, so once you complete all of those questions, and again, you can stop, pause, rewind if you need to listen to it again. Make sure you take a picture and submit it to Ms. Provis. Any other questions, please ask. Okay, bye.